Hey Internet, it's Chad with Just Ed Wood again. Sorry for my long absence. For those of you who might have noticed, we have left the mean streets of Atlanta suburb, and moved down to the Georgia coast in Savannah. So some of you might have seen my other videos where I added a back patio, covered patio in the last house. I added a bunch of custom cabinets and creative storage solutions and knickknacks and DIY sort of stuff. We were pretty much at the end of all of the projects at that house, and I looked forward to building a shop in the yard and creating a woodworking shop, which is where eventually I want this channel to go. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We sold the house. My wife got a job down here in Savannah, so down to Savannah we went. Gotta love this island sort of lifestyle. It's definitely not the mean streets of Atlanta suburb. It's much quieter, much slower, but along with the new house comes a ton of new projects. This is your typical 1970s brick ranch house along probably any coast in the U.S. And it has very little in the way of storage. It has a ton of opportunity for upgrades and bring current. And so my DIY list has started all over again. As much as I wanted to get into fine woodworking and build a shop, this yard does present an opportunity to build a shop in the backyard, just like the last house. Hopefully I will get to it this time. But for now, we're just going to do some DIY storage and try to get some of this stuff done. This house has, behind me, you see a little utility room. This house has a couple of utility rooms off of the garage. Ignore the mess because it's all moving boxes and stuff. So on this one side of this utility room, which isn't much wider than about 6 feet wide and about 9 feet long, 6 foot long, 9 feet wide, however that works. Husky had a little sale going on. This is not an advertisement for Husky at all, but Husky had a sale going on, some cabinets. So I put some cabinets along one wall. It has a back door to the backyard. We've done some nice modern locks there. And on this side, it has, actually the whole garage has a lot of these kitchen cabinets. This home, the kitchen was updated probably in the mid-1980s, and they took the old cabinets and they put them in the garage. They're horrible. They're in horrible condition, and they're ugly, and they don't work well. So I just painted this cabinet for the time being until I can replace it, and I added a little bottom shelf in the space for some tool charging. And what I need is a custom set of shelves down here for this oddball space. It's a little over 60 inches on this wall, and it's not quite, I think, 50 inches tall. Probably want my top shelf to be about 36 inches high to allow room between the top shelf and the cabinet. And there really wasn't a lot available in that particular size that wasn't $1 million. So I took my pen and paper out, and I started to draw up some cheap little garage type 2x4, construction material type shelves you can build. And I had almost $100 of materials by the time I was done drawing it. So what I found on the internet, and this is not a sponsored video, and this is not, I guess it is a recommendation of sorts. What I found was on the website, and I'll link the information. I'll show you on screen where I found it. But these Nexel chrome wire shelves. Let me just interrupt myself here and interject. These were a little less expensive when I bought them. I don't know if I caught them on sale, or you'll just have to wait for a sale to find them. But I bought them for about $130, including free shipping at globalindustrial.com. They're Nexel brand chrome 4-tier wire shelving. Now I only needed a 3-tier, but this suited my needs, and I have a leftover shelf. Back to your regular schedule program. And I found that to be very reasonable, and I don't have to build them. I don't have to custom construct them. Of course, I have to assemble them. But it was an easy order. It arrived quickly. It arrived well wrapped, and we're going to get them installed. And that's the way I can put all of my Rubbermaids, and I have some old milk cartons that have things in them that don't stack very well, don't store very well. And I have Rubbermaids that have all of my DIY stuff in it. I have a drywall box, I have a plumbing box, an electrical box, and things like that, where I can sort of keep all those materials combined, leftovers, and specialty tools and things like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and build these shelves to store all of that stuff in here to clean up a little bit of the mess out there. So follow along. First thing we want to do is get these little leveling feet adapters installed into the post. And it goes on the hollow end because the top end is capped with these little rubber caps. I did notice while I was unpacking these items, which I thought was pretty clever, is that the posts have these numbered spaces on them so that it's really easy to put your shelf at the height you want and put all four corners at the same height. I guess more importantly, put all four corners at the same height. So all you do is put the little end in place and tap it in with a hammer. What I quickly discovered is by tapping it with a hammer, the other end is ruining your rubber cap. So what I decided to do after that was just put the foot in place and then turn it over and pound the post into the concrete, which went much easier and didn't ruin the rubber cap on the other end. And you'll also notice a very distinctive sound when the leveling foot hits bottom. So when it's all the way inserted, it makes a completely different sound. There it is. It was all the way in. So the reason you're listening to me narrate this video rather than real-time audio is it's super windy, as you can see in the video here in Savannah, and we had some wind chimes outside that completely devastated my audio. So I apologize for the narration, but it is what it is. So once we get the leveling feet installed, then we can come back and insert the posts into the shelves and get the little clips installed. Then we're just going to screw the leveling feet into the little old feet we just added. Sorry for the church bells. Quite windy out and the chimes are blowing like crazy. This shelf kit, or this type of wire shelf kit, comes with these cool little tapered wedges, and they snap around the post, and then the shelf slides over it, wedging it into place. So there's a ridge on one end and a taper on the other end, and so you snap it in place around the post into one of the ridges, or I guess one of the recesses, and it sort of stays there until you put the shelf into place, and then when you press the shelf in place from above, it really wedges it into place and holds your shelf up. It's a neat design. So I'm starting by placing the first shelf onto the floor and then putting the posts in the corners and then lifting the shelf up, holding it with my foot so that I can put these little wedges in place and then slide the shelf down over it. So there you can see how they snap on around the post and they click into the grooves on the post. It's a pretty neat product, pretty neat process, very clever design. And so once you have it in place, then you just slide your shelf down over it. The first shelf's a little wonky because there's nothing to hold the legs upright, but after the first shelf goes in, it stays pretty steady and the other shelves are pretty easy to install. It's just the first one's a little wonky. And once you get them all in place, you just push the shelf down and you're good to go. Install the other shelves at will. I'm just measuring because I want about a 19-inch opening for the second shelf, or between the first shelf and the second shelf. So I measured where I want it, and then because all four corner posts have the same markings on them, it's easy to put the other three in the same spot so that your shelf goes on level. And just making sure they're all on the same height, and they are. So let's install the shelf. Slide it down from above, sliding it over the tapered wedges, and once they all sort of fit in place, you just push it down and it wedges into place. I confirm my measurements here to make sure I've got about a 19-inch opening between the first and the second shelf. For the third shelf, I want about a 16-inch opening between the second and the third shelf. So I'm just measuring to get approximate where I want it, make sure my Rubbermaids and all my contents will fit on the shelves like I intend, and then I'm just going to snap them in place just like the shelves below it. And with the third and last shelf in place, I can go ahead and slide it against the wall, use the leveling feet we installed earlier to get it nice and level and stable because the concrete is a little out of level, and then we can load it up with contents from the garage. Lots of stuff on the floor of the garage that belongs on shelves, and so we clear out a lot of stuff in the garage and made it a little more accessible for other projects. Perfect. All right. Well, there we go. Shelves are stocked, and we cleared out another set of shelves that was in the front of the garage that's now going into a hall closet. So that's real good. Be on the lookout for videos where I installed these wafer thin LED canless can lights, and I just bought a blank cover to cover up the old 1970s J box or junction box that's in the attic. That's where the power comes from. A lot of these slab houses along the coast, they're one story, so you have attic access above. Obviously a story for another time, but you have attic access from above, and most of your power in 1970 came from the box to these junction boxes and then down to the switch and back to the light. So there was these junction boxes almost over every room. So it's very easy to access electrical and add lighting as you need it. So that's what we've done here, is added a couple of wafer lights with some really white, I think it's 3,500, 4,000 Kelvin lights. So we have plenty of light in here. And now we have some storage. So anyway, again, not a sponsored video. I don't know these people from Adam. I went on the internet, found them, used my own money like any normal person would. Just super pleased with the product. It came in the size I wanted for about the price I wanted. It saved me from having to start another project to finish this project. I just wanted to clear up some space. So to start a whole nother project in order to clear the space project seemed redundant. So came in at a good price. They seem sturdy. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Please click subscribe, follow, like, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next one. Give you a sneak peek on the next one. There is this breezeway wall where it's completely blank, and it's a little bit of a pocket because of the door frames. There's a little bit of depth here. So I'm gonna add pegboard. You know, if you've seen any of my past videos, that I'm a fan of slat wall, but unfortunately I don't have access to slat wall down here in Savannah like I did in close to Atlanta, and I'm not making a trip back to Atlanta anytime soon. Slat wall with my logo is gonna go somewhere, but that's the only piece of slat wall I have left from the old house, so I'm gonna add some pegboard here. So pay attention and follow along, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.